a whooping on Southampton, and what I like about that is all the and supporters, all the backers, all those who think you're being negative and you always criticizing the manager and take that 5 pieces against a naive manager just like himself. Funny I made that comment that Southampton came out and they did not get the warning 30 seconds into the game that Spurs have all intent to run them over. And he never made any adjustment, just the way Ange never sees it fit to make adjustment when other teams come out. And he lost his job. Am I feeling sorry for him? Yeah, I don't want to lose his job, but he's well paid to think and to do what he needs to do. And so there was a guy who commented this morning on one of my posts from Football Heritage TV. Shout out to Sava, and who had some sense most time, and people can't deal with that. The facts don't care how you feel, right? You look at them and you use them for what they are. And so when you're talking about what's happening on the pitch, people tend to want to get personal and think, well, then you're attacking the manager. Well, tough luck, because if he's the manager and whatever is happening on the pitch, that's not happening the way it should or how we think it should. And it's a consensus among us that Ange is tactically inept. There is absolutely no doubt about that. But am I going to say fire the manager? I'm not going to fire the manager based on one result. But I can suggest that if he continues to show that kind of result over a period of time without adjusting the way he wants to play, then I don't have to say that he needs to be fired. He's going to get fired. And so Southampton was the elixir for all our ills and woes. I cannot understand, will never understand how Southampton came out and was so open, and it simply means that there's a lack of responsibilities, not only on the players, but the players are the ones that we all see. And that what you saw against Southampton, it was all about management. I don't think Ange did anything special, and I'm going to get to that. But for the Southampton manager to come out and be so wide open against a Spurs team who has one intent is to attack and attack and attack some more, is that he never set up. You don't have to be defensive. There's a big difference for those who understand football, because sometimes I'm talking to some people and they're like, okay, that's not Ange ball, but that's not football. Football means that you scout the team, you know what they're doing, and you're prepared to play them when your time comes. You have a record to go on because you have 9 teams that sat behind the ball some and they got results. We have 2 points from 9 games with teams that make a conscious effort to stop us from run. So you'd want to think that this manager would have looked at that and know that they're struggling, know that Spurs have lost to 2 teams that were in the bottom third, so they can be vulnerable. Even if we just try to be organized, make it tougher on them, for them, not leaving our entire team so open. And so that's that for Southampton. That's the reason why they're where they are. It's the same thing for Spurs. That is why we are where we are. Because on occasions like this that showed up before, we lost to teams that we have no business losing to. And so therefore you couldn't go into this game feeling all confident that Southampton would not pull one on us. And so I would say we won by 5, but we survived just the scare of that banana skin that was right there waiting for us. Now, there are some things in the game. If you see my video before this, the pregame was that I was saying that Because we are short at the back, we're going to have to either start Paro or Udogi. It so happened that Udogi is the one that got the start, and Spence went over and started on the right, which is a good thing. We have the opportunity to do that many games ago, and we still did not do it. So good thing. I think it was inevitable that Spence get a chance to start, and it shouldn't have come at the expense of Poro having a bad game. It should have been rudimentary that this game is a start for Spence, regardless of what Poro did in the game before, because we are short. They expend a lot of energy trying to play the way Ange want to play, and therefore you need the rotation to get a little tighter so that you can have good starts and you could have the energy to last at least 60, 70 minutes based on how Ange plays. And so just a little revision is here before I actually get to what I really want to say about the game is that when you look at what had transpired in the past is that Ange had started Gray at right fullback when Spence is healthy. Ange had started Gray at left fullback when Spence is healthy, right? And so when you look at the history of what's going on there, one would lead you down the path to say that, well, Ange made the right move yesterday or whenever that was. And that's not true. The decision was made for him because there was suspension and also injuries, more so the injuries than the suspension. But say that we have the suspension, right? There's a hypothetical. We have the suspension, and we have two center back. And so, do you think without a holding midfielder, Andrew would have started Gray as a holding midfielder? That's just a question I'm going to leave out there hanging because you saw the struggle of Bergval at the holding midfielder position, not having Bissouma or Rodrigo to play there. And that's a problem. That's a problem that stems from the beginning of the season where we didn't go out and get a senior midfielder to fill the gap, especially a number six. And now we're struggling to find a number six. So even with Bissouma's bad form and everything else that he's being blamed for, is that we have to continue to stick him in there. I would think, well, at the beginning, that Sarr was going to be the holding midfielder, and it so happened that instead of keeping Bergval next to Madison, who they are two creative midfielders, and more so that you actually put Kulusevski on the left, is still flip flop with Bergval and play Bergval as a holding midfielder, and I think he was lost for most of the times because it take a while to get accustomed to playing in the position. No, Sarr, right? Again, you're using your senior players. Is that Sarr has played as a holding midfielder when he was at Metz, and he plays a little bit here, and he understand what's going on. He's more experienced than Bergval is, and so I would not have been too upset if he had gone with a 4-2-1-3, because then you'd have given him the protection of having Sarr next to him, because he was never going to have the protection of the fullbacks. And so what you find happening with Bergval was that the fullbacks are leaving him wide open, and he's looking around, and then once we are in possession, is that the fullbacks are coming inside. And therefore, he has to find somewhere to go, and it's not fair to him because he's a junior player, and he's not going to try and put senior players in positions where they're supposed to be. Very rare you will see a young player taking that kind of command. It is up to the senior players to help him out and show him where he's supposed to go, and you never saw that yesterday. So for the people who or the poster who think that is being critical, no, it is being understanding of how the game is supposed to play, and you can't keep putting players in positions where they're not going to be successful. That is not the way football play. And while Bergval might hold up and do everything that he does, and it might be a learning experience, you don't want to expose him so often. And like I said in the response, is that was good because it's Southampton, and Southampton offered nothing. But you still see that he's young, he's green, he doesn't have the experience, and so why expose him so early in a position where he's not familiar? You can't use the same argument with Gray, because Gray played at fullback when he was with Leeds. He played there all year. When he came in camp, he played at centre half with when we're down during the preseason. What he has not done, he has not played at the sense the holding midfield position, and I don't think he's going to end up there because we're short at the back, and he's going to be the coverage right across the entire back line. So that's what it worked out to be. So that's what fell in Ange's lap, and I don't think it's any stroke of genius. I think it's just poor management that we bring in players and we don't have enough to be able to pluck and say, hey, cover here, cover there. We're using youngsters out of position to fill gaps. While they're getting the experience, I don't want them to be exposed in areas where they're not supposed to be. That is not putting them in a position to succeed. And if you look at Bergval, you could see that he was out at sea for the greater part. I think he would have done better, right? Which I suggested was to have Madison coming back. Even if you're playing a 4-1-2-3, you still could have Bergval with Madison and play Bergval ahead, sort of like the number 10, the number 8, number 10, and have Madison coming back to take the ball. What you'd have had, you'd have a structure at the back, because what would happen is that Sarr would have been more experience as a holding midfielder, and he flip-flop everything, and I really don't like that part. That's what I saw. Somebody see it differently, but that's okay. I'm not telling you what to see. I'm just watching the game and see what is presented, because what I'm seeing is that we are not efficient enough in what we're doing. And if I have not made the point before, let me make it again. It is not to say that you don't want Gray to play at right fullback or left fullback. It is the fact that you have Spence, and Spence is a senior fullback. So when you have to make a change and a rotation, Spence is supposed to go there. You need to get Spence up to speed, up to where you need to have him with Porro and Udogie. So now Spence is the one who is going to be the main contributor, and then Gray is going to learn on the job while he cover all the areas. You shouldn't have to bring Porro on when he doesn't start if you're going to pull Spence because you have Gray. That's not the situation right now because he has to cover center half. But that's what we're leading to. That's where we're going. And when Van der Ven comes back and Romero comes back, then you're going to have that problem. I'm just pointing it out right now that the gods may be good or bad, I don't know, is in our favor, wherein we don't really need to see that because we're short on manpower. So Gray's going to fill in right where he's supposed to, and Spence is going to fill in where Gray, he was using Gray before. But the point I'm making is that it should never have come to that. And it seemed like we're doing things out of desperation rather than structure and organization, and that's what I'm saying. So for the poster who thinks that, well, then I'm trying to say, Ange don't know what he's doing. Yes, I'm saying that too. But also that we can't do things so haphazard and when it work out, we're just like, oh yeah, go Ange. Because I don't see it. And so if you're going to build a team, Spence is a right back. He's not a left back. So when the opportunity comes for you to play him at right back, you play him at right back. Give Porro a rest, because earlier in the year, Gray started there, right, while Spence is on the bench. Someone got injured, right? He bring on Porro and move Gray to the left. So you start to figure out what's going on with Spence. So those are the things that accumulate over a period of time, and you see it, and even yesterday, what was going to happen to Solanke? I don't know what was going to happen to Solanke with us up five. He's going to score a goal and build his confidence. Is that what was going to happen? We up five, and he played 80 minutes. Your striker, we're up five, and he played 80 minutes, and you have a teenager sitting on the bench. These are the things that when you win, it masks it, right? And when you lose, you're asking the question, why? Why should you have a midweek game and you have Solanke going for 90 minutes when you're up five in the first half? Why? Why should you have Archie Gray or even Dragoshin going 90 odd minutes when you have Dorrington on the bench? You could look at Southampton and see that they were out of their wits, and there was no way you were going to give up 5 goals. And you have the starters, right? Throw us a bone. He took off Son early, so the head scratching thing is that, are you singling out players? Because I would think you want to treat every position the same way you're treating Son's position. Of course, Son, he needs his rest and he need all of that. But it wasn't about the rest. It was about whether or not you need to get players in, and you're looking for that spot to get players in. And that was a prime opportunity to get players in. 60, 70 minutes in the game. We're not going to give up 5 goals as bad as we are. And you play just about all your starters with 5 changes allotted to you on a 5-0 romp. And this just adds to the overall atmosphere and what I feel and how I feel about Ange and how he goes about this thing in a tactical way. But after a win, it's hard to really say negative things or complain about things that you're seeing. But these things are coming back to haunt us and make us so ineffective and inconsistent when we go up against good teams. Because when we're supposed to do the little things that we're supposed to do, like resting your, Solanke and Madison, you play them all the way down into the 90th minute. It's crazy. Crazy anyway.